Hi, and welcome to another episode of Salon Talk. My name is Keeley from Salon Business by the Keeleys, and today I get to speak to a Melbourne haircutting legend, and I mean that in all ways, Joe Giampa, who has been in the Melbourne scene for a long, long time, one of the instigators of the dry haircutting movement. I've never actually spoken to Joe, but I've always wanted to. I didn't tell him that in the pre-show. So today, welcome, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, Carl. Thanks for having me on board, and it's a pleasure to be here.
No, it's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure.
Thanks,
Joe, for the... Yeah. It's true though, right?
Thank you, mate.
So for those that don't know you, Joe, could you just give us a quick history of who you are, where you're from, and all the normal stuff?
Well, I'll try and be brief. Look, I go back to, I guess I was, when I started, I was about 16.
16? 16
years old, and I fell into hairdressing because it was a great way for me to express myself artistically, and I could also earn a living and have a career out of it. It wasn't something that I, thought about for long periods of time. I went for an interview at a very famous salon at the time, and I walked up the stairs and through this fashion shop in Collins Street, and I just knew I had to be there, and I got the job the next day, and I worked with the company for nearly 8 or 9 years.
Who was that, Joe?
Yeah, so that was John Morrie Salon.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so John Morrie was my mentor, and he was my only employer at the time. And through John Morrie, I was able to express myself through seminar work. I was introduced to seminar work at a very early age. I wasn't even qualified. I was able to travel with him, do the seminar circuit, New Zealand and I went to Japan and the UK. I did the Sassoon course in the 80s, and I think that was the mind you, in those times, I worked with some very, very creative people. And I got my first pair of scissors were given to me within 3 months of me starting, and I started cutting hair in my parents' garage. So within a few months, I was making money, But anyway, after the Sassoon experience back in the 80s, I realised that that whole way of doing hair was not for me.
The strict discipline?
Yeah, the strict discipline of structure and rigidness in the approach. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't move freely. I had to stay in one spot, and I just found myself very robotic.
Yeah, I've experienced the same thing.
Yeah, and John was a more flamboyant type of hair cutter as well. So I must say that he did obviously. There was a difference there when I was a Sassoon compared to John, and I preferred sort of John's way because he was more fluid, and he did sort of wet cutting, and then my experience with him, I did a year of towel drying hair. So he would cut the hair wet, and I would. One of his training ways was that I would be next to him.
Yeah.
And all the apprentices went through him, and he would do the haircut, and he had 4 clients at once, and he would do the haircut, and I'd go there and towel dry. And sometimes I'd towel dry for half an hour.
Yeah, this is proper wash and wear haircutting, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the 80s.
Molten browner stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's when I started to understand hair, you see, because it gave me the ability to play with hair and work with hair and it move and flow. And then when I went to Sassoon, I just thought, oh, hang on, this doesn't work. It worked for the time, but I was more used to sort of a free-flowing approach. So through that time, then when I came back and when I opened up my own shop back in the 80s, mid-80s, I introduced the whole experience of the salon. It wasn't just hair. It was music. It was environment. It was smell. It was the way we looked, we dressed. It was a full concept at the time. Pretty out there at the time. Rock hair was
pretty rock and roll at the
It
time.
was pretty rock and roll, yeah.
Yeah.
But through that time, I've just evolved and really had a really amazing time expressing myself. And I think that's the key word is that as a hairdresser, I needed to be able to express myself. Not just in the way that I cut hair, but the way I moved on the floor and, what I was hearing in the background, what I was smelling through the environment, how I was coming across with my client. That was all really important for me. I didn't know all of this when I was doing it. It was just an instinctive thing that I was wanting to create. And my staff were, obviously all part of the circus at the time, And over the years, I've realised what it was that I was doing, trying to achieve. And now I can actually do that purposely and with consciousness and be conscious about what I'm doing. And it's really powerful.
It's super powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful in a sense that the energy that you create through that whole expression as an artist, it flows through to your client, and that's when the magic happens. The client's not just walking out with a beautiful haircut; they're walking out with a beautiful feeling.
Yeah,
and if you can achieve that within that time that you're with them, then I think that's the magic.
I think with our industry, and you might expand on this, people forget that you're a designer and you do have a spec and you have some material that's presented to you. It's normally on someone's head. But your job is to interpret what they have, what they can do, what they like to their taste, and what is possible design-wise, and make something unique for the person, given that they are unique. I tell my team that we're the only people they see on a regular basis who actually design something individually for them, something bespoke, one-off. They don't have that experience normally in life. You don't go and have an individually designed car or clothing even these days, or anything else. People don't cook just for you. They're always in templates. So for an artist, which you are, it must be very freeing to be able to express that to a client and give that gift of bespoke design.
Well, I don't really know any other way. I've been doing this pretty much from day dot. I didn't know I was doing it.
You're doing it.
I might have come across a little bit overconfident or arrogant in my early days. Interestingly enough, I wasn't a big talker with my clients. I've never been a big talker, and what really got me through was my work and the way that I was expressing my work and how I went about it. I'm always on time. I'm very efficient when it comes to running a clientele. I remember back in the 80s, mate, working for John, we had clients every half hour.
That's right. That's how I started too.
Bloody hell, like wash and cut in half an hour. And I was booked out like most days of the week. So that experience, it doesn't give you much time for gossip or talk.
They were good haircuts. I mean, they were actual full haircuts as well.
Yeah.
You shouldn't compare eras, but, often my team might, or other teams may want 2 hours to do a piece of work. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
How is that possible? But, okay.
Yeah. I think styling was a bit different. There wasn't as much long hair. And
you can't compare the two. The colour work that was done back then to compared to now is just universes away. Like, it's incredible what the colourists can do now. Yeah, it was all about the cutter back then. And the colourists really didn't do too much.
No, they just did the basic stuff. And
yeah. Maybe just for those that don't know, what is the Cutting Room Theatre? It's a new product for you. It's a new offering, I guess, piece of work.
The Cutting Room Theatre is a concept that was conceived about 5 years ago when I had the salon in the Como Centre, and I had a staff member who we got on really well. He was into music as well as me, and we just explored music, artists, from all over the world. Used to play in the salon. And one day I started to contemplate what it was that we were doing and realized that we were, as I was saying before, we were like, actors on stage. And I had this vision of we were cutting hair and the music, and it was just like theatre. It was like, wow, So that's where the name came from. But the actual cutting room theatre is about expressing yourself as an artist and as a hair cutter or hairdresser, and to deliver that on a daily basis, not just when you're on stage, but in the salon. So in the salon is the way you looked, it's the way you moved, it's the way that you interacted with your client. It's the music that's playing. It's a really important part of my spaces. It's the smells that people smell. It's what they taste, whether it be a tea or whether you're serving a coffee. But, in my case, it's always been tea, especially the last 10 years or so. I haven't served coffee in my space. So I have a selection of teas. So it's this whole sensory experience. And the cutting room theatre is really to help people or hairdressers understand the concept in its entirety. So I gave it this name, and I just did a 3-part series of this and presented through the Aftermath Education Group. I'm going to be posting it on my website in its entirety soon. But it comes in 3 parts. So there's the first part, which will explain the whole concept. The second part is really going through the ergonomics of cutting hair and cutting hair dry. And I end up doing about 5 haircuts on a wig. And then the third part is the getting into the zone part where I create with music and really being able to express who I am as an artist. And the cutting room theatre then in the salon environment is all of those things. And giving it a name just helped me to share it and teach it in a more, I guess, structured sort of way, even though it's not a structured thing. It's been in the pipeline for a while, but it's one of those things that's evolved as well. It's been an evolving sort of concept. It's not just about the cutting of the hair.
Yeah, and this is video too, isn't it? So will it become available to watch or download as video?
Video, yes.
I saw it on Aftermath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's video. And
it's beautifully done as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It was, I mean, the concept itself and the way that I do it, I have an ability, obviously, my ability to cut hair ergonomically, freehand, expressing myself through music. It's endless. The shapes and the work that I can create, it's an endless sort of game. And I'm purely talking about cutting hair.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about colouring that's a whole other area, which there's some beautiful and amazing colourists out there that blow me away with what they do. And I'm really in awe of their work because it must take days sometimes to get to do some of this work that I see. I'm purely talking about the expression and the expressive side of cutting hair and getting out of that sort of rigid sassoon approach, which I think it's got us stuck. I think that our industry is stuck in this mode of cutting hair, and if you do anything different, it's almost seen as like a bit radical.
Blasphemy. It's blasphemy. So we have the sassoon approach, which we all worshipped over the years, but it was something that was very radical in its time, late 50s, early 60s. He threw the old tools out and did something completely the opposite. Previous to that, it was mostly freehand because you were going to style the hair, highly style the hair. But the French have never had the sassoon approach, have they? And neither of the Italians. They take parts of it sometimes.
Yes.
But they're about feel. So there's always been this standoff between the English and the structure. But remember, sassoon was a radical at the time.
Sure.
Now it's not so radical. Now it becomes contemporary. So anything that's done differently, so if you go to the French approach, which is all feeling and mood, now it's considered radical. You seem to be on that side of feeling and mood artistry, but it goes against the grain of the mainstream, which was Sassoon's message at the time. Throw away what's old and create something new.
Yes.
People get themselves so backwards. That was like 60 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't recreate 1960s now and think it's going to be different. It's not. I think there's a lot of forgeries out there as they think somehow it's high thinking, and I'm a sassoon cutter, but they think it's high thinking to do something that was done 50, 60 years ago. To me, it's you're a cover band, and cover bands never change the world.
Spot on. Well said. I think that our teaching system has, from school and then filtering through into salons, it has become cover band stuff.
If you do this, you're competent.
Yes.
You'll do a straight line haircut, and that's fine. We all need to know that. I always say to people, Sassoon created the alphabet, and then he constructed something like Shakespeare with it at the time.
Yes.
Right? You've given an alphabet now for this time. What would you like to write? It doesn't make sense to write history again. It's now history.
Yeah, so on that sort of note, again, this is it is a perfect time to look at your work, look at yourself, look at your environment, a reinvention and evolution. I think I've personally been doing that all these years without even knowing it, hence moving salons, losing money, nearly going bankrupt like 3 times, losing staff over it, mutinies of staff. I've been through the whole lot.
I think you were hardwired to do that, to be the agitator, the changeling.
Yeah. Free spirit is an amazing journey. I guess it's
a journey,
right?
And it's unique as well. Let's we have to pay homage to our sponsor, Joe, as we come to an end. Something unique that struck us a couple of years ago was K-Hair Pep, and it is a bit of an agitator too because it breaks so many molds of what things should be or could be as far as products go. How have you experienced K-Hair Pep yourself, and how does it work in with your day-to-day work?
The story is what I really like.
Yes, the creation story.
Yeah, the story of how it was founded. That, to me, that's the story I actually tell when I talk about K-Hair Pep. I don't talk about the product. I do talk about that it's a peptide and what it does in a brief form. But I always go back to the story and how, to me, that resonated. When I saw and read the story, that's what caught my attention. I thought, wow, this must be unique. This is how it works is pretty amazing. But I also wanted to know that it just did the job and that it did what it said it was going to do. It's
amazing how many products I get shown that just don't do what they're supposed to do over the years. Actually, they don't work.
No. I think, and also at the end of the day, Carl, it's about what comes back. So if you're actually promoting a brand and the feedback that comes back is not so good, then you got to question yourself, well, why have I got this brand in the shop? Like it's not, But if the feedback is positive and people are getting results and clients are getting results, from a high ticket item, then you're on a, you're maintaining your professional status quo, because that's the important part. It could be K Hair Pet, it could be something else, even my own personal brand. It needs to fulfill a need, and I need to get the right feedback. So getting it out there, and actually, I don't really promote it as such. I talk about it, and I talk about the story, and I talk about how I could help their hair, and people just buy it. Actually, I had a client in yesterday for a consultation, and their hair was really fine and bleached, and she, just for consultation, she came in for a chat, and I let her speak for 10, 15 minutes, and then I got up and I designed a look for her, and she's booking in a couple of weeks, and I brought the brochure out, the K Hair Pet brochure, and I showed it to her, and I basically said, and I'd like you to use this for this product for the next 2 weeks. And I briefly explained what it was, and boom, she just took a 100 ml bottle home, and that's what she's going to do. So to me, that was a really positive, consultation that happened, and I had a brand and a product that supported my professionalism.
Yeah,
that's what's important for me. It's not necessarily about the product. It's about how I speak about my craft, how I speak about my knowledge, how I have the confidence to then recommend a brand that I have, whether it be K Hair Pet, whether it be my brand, my personal brand. So it needs to work, and it needs to fulfill that gap, if we want to call it that. But most importantly, it needs to reflect my professional standards. And that goes with anything else that I use.
Exactly.
I want to point this out, without big noting myself, without big noting, bragging, being over the top about it, by being natural with it. By being natural with it, you don't become the salesman. You don't become the salesperson. You become the consultant, and you become the person that people come to for advice on that particular thing. I'm not a big fan of targets and, in selling environments, or I used to do that back in the 80s. John Morley was really big on all that sort of stuff. I'm not big on that. I'm more big on information and knowledge and fulfilling my personal reputation. That's where K Hair Pet comes in, and I can do that with this brand. So because I'm a one-man show, some of my work is pretty out there with the lightening of hair, but I'm also recommending to clients that that need that little bit of extra structure in their hair and support in its natural sort of movement without sort of cutting too much hair off. And that's the sort of first place we can go to.
It rejuvenates, doesn't it?
Yeah, rejuvenate. And then, importantly enough, I do wait for feedback. I need to have that feedback. And if I get the feedback and it's positive, I'm more confident then to continue that path. So I think it's amazing product.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for us.
Yeah,
Joe, we're coming to the end of the hour now. Where can people learn more about you, or maybe experience the cutting room? Things that other projects, you're very prolific, other projects such as your book and all the rest of it. What's the easiest way for people to follow you and stay connected?
Well, obviously through through Facebook, they can friend me, follow my business page. Instagram. They can also register on my website. They can go in there. They'll see that there's a section saying the Cutting Room Theatre. You need to sort of log into that section. I don't have a lot up there at the moment, but that's where they can, register themselves. And then when I do have something that comes up, it'll come through my website.
Okay.
My first video that I did of the Cutting Room Theatre is actually, it's public because it gives the client, my potential clients out there, a really good understanding about who I am and how I go about my work. I've actually already had 2 clients out of it.
Oh, that's good. Is that on your website or on your Facebook page?
That's on my website.
Okay.
The Cutting Room Theatre. There's another section I have on the website called Cut to the Chase, and that's got all my sort of recent work, but that's the public. And I've got the first video on that page where it's free, and clients can watch it, potential clients, but also hairdressers. And it's a 40-minute video, and I was pretty blown away how I already got a couple of clients out of it because they saw that and they watched that. So a pretty powerful first video. But if people register through my site, as things come up, obviously I'll be posting, and then they can log into my website as a hairdresser and watch what I'm doing. Anything that's more public will be more public, but anything more hairdressy or educational sort of purpose, they'll have to possibly log in and create an account.
I'll put links to all that in the show notes as well, Joe, so people can follow and find you. I just want to thank you for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're an artist and a gentleman and such a unique individual who's obviously continuing on his journey in hairdressing for a bit more years to come. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Well, Carl, it's been a pleasure talking to you. First time,
yeah, we're neighbours. I've never had the occasion.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to, touch base and
love to
have a coffee. So I want to really appreciate you, having me on, and want to thank the guys at Jane and Brian at K Hair Pep. I've known those guys for a very long time. They were around in the 90s when I had rock hair. I had some beautiful moments with those guys. They had a brand that we were using in the shop back then, and we did a few little tours and education. And this is an amazing show up in Queensland one year. It was really pretty out there. So I want to thank the guys for having me on, and I wish them all the best. And it's love them.
I do too. Thank you, Joe. Until we talk next time.
Carl,
See ya.
yeah, mate. Thanks very much.